South Sudan Basketball will face off against the United States this afternoon. Let's talk about what makes them one of the cooler stories of the 2024 Olympic Games. For those who may not be up to date on global affairs, South Sudan is the world's newest country after gaining independence from Sudan back in 2011. Given the nation's relative infancy, plus the fact that they've faced both civil war and a hunger crisis over the past several years, it's remarkable that they've been able to assemble an Olympic-level basketball team. Well, none of it would have been possible without 15-year NBA vet, two-time All-Star Luol Deng, who's been funding the South Sudanese Basketball Federation out of his own pocket. South Sudan coach Royal Ivy said, quote, "Luol Deng has been funding this thing for 4 years out of his own pocket. He pays for gyms, hotels, plane tickets, everything. Kudos to Luol and the staff. We wouldn't have been able to put this team together without them," end quote. Here's South Sudan's roster, and there's some names on here. Kicking things off with Carlik Jones, who was a standout for Radford and then Louisville. Averaged 20 points a game his junior year at Radford, was Big South Player of the Year. Goes to Louisville, averages just under 17 points a game. He's all ACC. Actually played in the NBA for a few years, which is super impressive to do as a 6'1 guard. Now he's playing in China, but this guy can hoop. Common Malawak, 17 years old. He's a 5-star who's committed to Duke. Former Kentucky Wildcat Wenyan Gabriel, he's been in the NBA for the last few years, most recently with the Memphis Grizzlies. He'll be playing overseas this upcoming season. Former Auburn Tiger JT Thor, another guy who's played in the NBA. He was with the Charlotte Hornets the last 3 years. They just declined his 4th-year option, so he's currently an unrestricted free agent. They've got Mariel Shayok, who played his college ball at Virginia and Iowa State. I think he was with the Philadelphia 76ers for a hot sec. It's a name I've not heard in a long time. A little farther down the list, they have Peter Jock, who I remember from Iowa. It's actually a pretty respectable roster, and Bol could play for South Sudan, but he opted out of the Olympics, citing personal reasons. This South Sudan team has shown they can compete. They played the U.S. in an exhibition game less than 2 weeks ago and had them on the ropes. It took a last-second LeBron James layup to give the U.S. the win. South Sudan came into Paris, won their first ever Olympic basketball game over Puerto Rico. I think they could make things close against the U.S. a second time, but I expect the U.S. to take them more seriously this time around and win by a pretty sizable margin. Regardless, South Sudan basketball, one of the cooler stories of the Paris Olympics in my opinion.